Have you ever wondered what really sparked the First World War? As we dive into the annals of history, we find a labyrinth of alliances and rivalries, a complex web of events that led to a conflict of global proportions. The Great War, as it's often called, was not just a European affair. It spread its dark wings across continents, impacting millions and forever altering the course of humanity. Now, to comprehend the enormity of this war, we must first understand its origins. Central to the stage were two formidable forces, the Entente, a coalition of the United Kingdom, France and Russia, and their opponents, the Central Powers, primarily Germany and Austria-Hungary. These alliances were not formed overnight, nor were they the result of a single dispute. They were the culmination of years of political maneuvering, a build-up of tensions that would ultimately ignite the spark of the Great War. So let's delve into the beginnings of this global conflict that would reshape the world. The stage for the Great War was set by alliances. But how did these alliances come to be? In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the world was a chessboard, with nations maneuvering for advantage. This led to the formation of two primary alliances, the Entente powers and the Central Powers. The Entente powers comprised of Russia, France and Britain, each with their own motivations. Russia, having lost a war to Japan, was desperate to re-establish its global standing. France, still smarting from the loss of Alsace-Lorraine to Germany in the Franco-Prussian War, was eager to regain its lost territories. Britain, the global superpower, was wary of Germany's rapid industrial growth and naval expansion. The common thread binding these nations was a shared concern over Germany's ascendancy. The formation of the Entente began in 1894 with the Franco-Russian alliance, a mutual pact to support each other if attacked by Germany or its allies. The British, initially hesitant, joined the Entente in 1904 with France and later with Russia in 1907, creating a formidable alliance. On the other side were the Central Powers, consisting of Germany, Austria-Hungary and Italy. Germany, under Kaiser Wilhelm II, was ambitious and eager to assert its power. Austria-Hungary, beset by internal ethnic strife, sought solace in alliances. Italy, despite its initial agreement to join Germany and Austria-Hungary in the Triple Alliance of 1882, would later renege on its commitments, switching allegiances to the Entente in 1915. The alliances were a complex web of mutual defence pacts, secret treaties and diplomatic manoeuvring. They were created in a world where nations believed that the best defence was a good offence, and that a network of allies could deter potential aggressors. Little did they realise that these alliances, instead of preventing war, would serve as a catalyst for one. These alliances, initially formed for protection, would soon entangle the world in a devastating conflict. The Balkans, a region of diverse cultures and long-standing rivalries, was the powder keg, waiting for a spark. Our tale takes us to southeastern Europe, to a region known as the Balkans, a powder keg of ethnic tensions and territorial ambitions. The Balkans was a melting pot of diverse cultures, languages and religions, each with their own unique identities and long histories of conflict. A perfect storm was brewing here, one that would set the stage for the greatest conflict the world had yet seen. At the heart of this storm was the bitter rivalry between Serbia and Austria-Hungary. Serbia had dreams of uniting all South Slavs under one banner, a concept known as pan-Slavism. Austria-Hungary, with its own diverse population, saw this as a direct threat to its empire, fearing that it could stir up separatist sentiments among its Slavic population. But the tensions in the Balkans were not simply a local issue. The major powers of Europe had their own interests in the region. Russia, the self-proclaimed protector of Slavic peoples, supported Serbia, while Austria-Hungary found an ally in Germany. France and Britain, wary of the growing power of the Central Powers, sided with Russia. These alliances turned the Balkans into a chessboard for the great powers, each maneuvering for their own advantage. The Balkans was a tinderbox, filled with the dry kindling of nationalistic fervour, territorial disputes and political intrigue. And all it needed was a spark to set it ablaze. That spark would come in the form of an assassination in the summer of 1914. But that's a story for another time. The Balkans, this small but volatile region, was a microcosm of the larger tensions that were gripping Europe in the early 20th century. The rivalries and ambitions that played out here would soon engulf the entire continent and eventually the world. In this volatile environment, it was only a matter of time before a spark would ignite the powder keg. The spark that ignited the war was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary. On a seemingly ordinary day in late June 1914, an act of violence in the city of Sarajevo would set the world on fire. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and his wife Sophie were on a state visit. Unbeknownst to them, a group of young Bosnian Serbs, members of an underground nationalist group known as the Black Hand, were plotting their demise. One of these young men, Gavrilo Princip, would become the trigger point for the Great War. The Archduke and his wife were tragically gunned down in broad daylight by Princip. The couple's demise was not merely a personal tragedy, it was a political catastrophe. The assassination of such a high-ranking figure was a direct affront to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, causing shockwaves across Europe. The empire was outraged and demanded justice. They held Serbia responsible, accusing them of conspiring with the Black Hand. Serbia, a small yet fiercely independent nation, denied these accusations, but the Austro-Hungarian Empire was not satisfied with their response. In the weeks that followed, the empire delivered an ultimatum to Serbia, demanding severe measures that would infringe upon Serbia's sovereignty. Serbia, backed by their powerful ally Russia, refused to fully comply. The tension between these nations escalated rapidly, and by the end of July, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. This declaration of war, however, was not just a conflict between two nations. It was a spark in a tinderbox of delicate alliances and rivalries among Europe's great powers. The assassination had set a terrifying machinery of war into motion. As Russia mobilized in support of Serbia, Germany, allied with Austria-Hungary, declared war on Russia. France, bound by treaty to Russia, found itself at war with Germany, and so the dominoes fell one by one. The assassination set off a chain reaction of events, leading the world into war. The death of Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie was the spark that ignited the powder keg of Europe, setting the stage for the First World War. The world, as everyone knew it, was about to change forever. With the assassination of Franz Ferdinand, the delicate balance of power was disrupted. The intricate web of alliances, carefully spun over years, was suddenly strained to breaking point. The world watched with bated breath as the great powers of Europe stood on the precipice of war. Austria-Hungary, reeling from the assassination of their heir apparent, sought retribution. They pointed fingers at Serbia, a small but defiant nation in the Balkans, accusing them of orchestrating the heinous crime. With Germany's unconditional support in their pocket, the Austro-Hungarian Empire issued an ultimatum to Serbia, one that was impossible to fully comply with. Serbia, though, was not alone. They were backed by the formidable Russian Empire, a member of the Triple Entente along with France and the United Kingdom. Russia, having a pan-Slavic bond with Serbia, felt compelled to come to their aid, and so the dominoes began to fall. The wheels of war were set in motion. Germany, bound by their alliance with Austria-Hungary, declared war on Russia. France, allied with Russia, was then drawn into the fray. The United Kingdom, initially a spectator, had no choice but to join the conflict when Germany violated Belgium's neutrality, a nation Britain had sworn to protect. The Central Powers, with Germany and Austria-Hungary at their core, stood on one side. On the other, the Allies, led by the United Kingdom, France and Russia. A complex tangle of alliances, promises and threats had turned an assassination in Sarajevo into a full-blown war involving the world's major powers. A war that was supposed to be swift and decisive, turned into a protracted and bloody affair. It was a war of attrition, where men and machines were fed into the furnace of conflict, changing the face of warfare forever. And thus, the world was plunged into the Great War. The assassination of a single man had triggered a conflict that would engulf nations, claim millions of lives, and alter the course of history. The world had entered a dark chapter, one that would redefine the very meaning of war. The First World War was a conflict of unprecedented scale and devastation. A tangled web of alliances, a powder keg in the Balkans, and the fateful assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand all conspired to ignite the flames of war. The formation of the Entente and Central Powers, the intricate dance of diplomacy and suspicion, set the stage for a conflict that would shape the 20th century. This war wasn't instigated by a single entity or for a solitary reason. It was an intricate tapestry woven from threads of nationalism, imperialism and militarism, exacerbated by diplomatic failures. The repercussions echoed through the decades, shaping geopolitical landscapes, seeding the roots for another destructive war, and leaving a legacy of lessons in its wake. As we reflect on the origins of the First World War, we are reminded of the intricate web of alliances and tensions that led to this global conflict. A single spark can ignite a powder keg, and the world is still feeling the reverberations of that explosion today.